So, is English your second language? Do you want to read fantasy but are too scared? Don't worry, I got your back. Hi, I'm Dia and you guys are watching Dianosaur. So as I said in the intro that if you speak English as a second language and you want to read fantasy but are scared because fantasy, the books are so chunky and there are so many new terms, the world building, all these things, you are scared. But you have me, I got your back, and today I'll tell you some of the books that you can read as your first fantasy. Like these books, they have very easy, very approachable writing, and not many, new made up words. So you won't feel overwhelmed by any of these books. So let's get on with the video. So the first we have is a novella by Brandon Sanderson called The Emperor's Soul. So this was my first Brandon Sanderson that I read because everyone was, I was looking up blogs and everything, and everyone was saying to start with Mistborn. But Mistborn, first of all, it's a trilogy, and secondly, each book is around 500 to 600 pages, and I was like, shit, like I won't be able to read so many pages. I won't understand anything. So I was like, okay, I'll read something short, and this was the one that was suggested. This was the only novella I think that he had written at that time. So I picked it up and I was immediately in love. The writing was so easy to read, and the story, it was not overwhelming, but the magic system and everything was so well explained that even if you're a newbie to fantasy, you won't have a you won't have trouble suspending your disbelief, and b, you won't have trouble keeping everything in your mind, in your head. So for example, sometimes magic system, there can be too many rules and everything, and you can get a bit muddled. But this one was pretty intuitive, and yeah, I mean, it's a great choice if you want to dip your toes into fantasy. So next we have Seasons of Albion. I read this book last month, or this month, in the beginning, I don't remember, this year, and it is an amazing book. So this is actually a collection of short stories, four short stories, and four stories that take place in four of the seasons, and each follows a different character, and every character is searching for something. So it is very, again, approachable prose, and the themes are very to the forefront of the stories. The magic system, it's not a hard magic system, it's on the softer side, but still you won't have trouble suspending your disbelief. Like nothing too magical happens. It's all about human stories, human beings doing human things, and it is emotional, it packs a punch, so you will definitely enjoy it. So next we have The Crew by Sadir Samir. So The Crew, I read it last month and it was absolutely hilarious. Like it's a story about this ex spy master of this ruler of this city state, and he is kind of putting together a crew to take out the ruler because the ruler has gone crazy and doing crazy shit. So he is putting together this crew, and the crew is this band of misfits, weird characters doing weird stuff, and it has the best opening line in my opinion. And yeah, the writing is easy to get to, and the pace is fast, so you won't be feeling bored, and it's also on the shorter side. So all these books that I'm talking about, these are all under 400 pages. Yeah, these are all under 400 pages, so these are not like those heavy, chunky tomes or something like that. So you have nothing to be scared of. These are pretty accessible. So that was The Crew. Next, we have The Beast Hunters by Crystal Lende. And The Beast Hunters, it's about this girl whose family gets killed by this, monstrous beast, and she gets taken under the wing of these two monster hunters, beast hunters, and it's their adventure. So it has the feeling of, supernatural, but also has great banter, which reminded me of another book which had, two characters with great banter. So if you're a character driven reader but also want something light, something with more plot, like it's a very nice, it has a very nice balance between plot and character, and it's also very fast paced, so you won't feel bored reading it. And it has some new terms, but it's not, like necessary for you to remember all these things to enjoy the story. So that is The Beast Hunters. Next, we have Never Die. Never Die by Rob J. Hayes. So Never Die is the story about this young boy who is kind of recruiting these legendary warriors to kill a king. So there is this, mystery that is the center of this plot, that why is the boy trying to kill this king, like what did the king do to this boy for him to uh want to kill the king, and why is the boy so powerful, like how did he become so powerful. So there's this mystery that pushes the narrative forward. And also there are, it is kind of like a video game in a book. So you have these two characters, like you will have two characters having encounters and fighting and all that. So it's very action packed, it's very plot driven, and I finished it in like two sittings, I think. It was that engaging. So that is Never Die. And lastly, we have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. Nettle and Bone, it's a very short story and it reads like a fairy tale. And it's not a fairy tale retelling, it's an original story. And it's about this girl who was sent to this place to become a nun, and she finds out that her sister, who is married to the prince of another country, she is being mistreated by the king, the her husband. So she tries to, she sets off on a quest to find a way to save her sister. And that is the story. The story has so much heart to it. The story is, it makes you feel for the character. And also, there is magic, but it is nothing too overwhelming. Like, there are no, it's not a hard magic system. You don't have to remember rules and everything. And it's not too whimsical either that you will have trouble suspending your disbelief or something, like staying grounded or something like that. So it strikes a nice balance between those two magic systems. And uh I mean, at the end of the day, it's this really heartfelt story about a sister who wants to do everything in her power and beyond her power to save her sister. So, if you like sister stories, this one is it. So, next, I have a couple of honorable mentions. So, the books that I told you, the six books, those are all adult fantasy. Now, if you want to explore fantasy but you don't have any specific age range in mind, like you can read a children's book, you can read a YA, anything will work for you. So, in that case, I'll give you some honorable mentions and you can, explore these options too. So, firstly, I would tell you to explore middle grade. Middle grade is the age range of, I think, 10 to 14. I think it's 10 to 14. I'm not sure exactly. So, middle grade, the first book I would ask you to, get to is Percy Jackson. So Percy Jackson is kind of like Harry Potter, but in my opinion, it's a bit more polished, and it's all about Greek mythology. And if you are interested in Greek mythology, you will definitely like the Percy Jackson books. So that is one honorable mention. Next, we have Wings of Fire. Wings of Fire by I can't remember the name of the author. So it's a book about dragons and dragons going on adventures and doing cool stuff and all that. So you can read it with your, if you have a cousin, a nephew, or a niece, or your child, if you want to, read with a younger audience, this will be the perfect book for you. Next, we have Frances Harding. Frances Harding is one of my all time favorite authors. Her books, they kind of, bridge the gap between middle grade and YA. So, the books are not young enough but not old enough either, so it's kind of like in the middle, sits in the middle. So I have read Verdigris Deep, which is a bit on the younger side, and the Light Tree and Cuckoo Song are on the older side, on the YA side. So these books are, darkly imaginative and very beautifully written, but not too difficult to read. So these are the books. These books by Frances Harding, you can really give it a go. You might feel that, like, oh no, middle grade or YA will be too young for me, but the themes explored in this one are very heavy at times. And I would suggest that, if you like reading a book with a darker tone, you should go for Francis Harding. And next we have YA very famous series, The Cruel Prince. And I have read only the first book in the series, not the entire series. That's because I kind of lost interest, but that's just me. So the first book I read, I devoured it in a day, and it was so much fun, and it was very easy to read, and the characters are very, like, fun to follow. It's a fun book. Like, you will have a lot of fun. It might not have, like, much literary merit or something like that, but if you want to, consume a book and have a good time, this is that book. Next we have Grishaverse. So we have Shadow and Bone trilogy, then we have the Six of Crows duology, and then another duology, I think, I don't remember. So I have just read the first trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. And Grisha, it the first trilogy, it is a bit on the younger side, and it is a bit tropey and, predictable. The I mean, the usual tropes that you see in YA fantasy are there, but I had so much fun reading it. Like, sometimes you just, crave that, tropey book for some tropey good times, and this was one of those books. And Six of Crows, you can start with Six of Crows also. I started with Six of Crows, and I didn't have any, difficulty understanding what was happening. And at first I was struggling a bit, but I got used to it pretty quickly, and I had a good time reading the books. The characters are amazing. I mean, right now they might pale in comparison to some of the other books that I've read. But when I read the book, I felt that, it was very deftly done. I really liked it. And yeah, if you don't mind tropey books, then you will like Grishowers. Next, we have Neil Gaiman. So Neil Gaiman, I've read quite a few books by him. So I've read Neverwhere, what is it called? Norse mythology, Coraline, Graveyard Book, and American Gods. So only American Gods was the one I didn't like, but the other books I really really liked. So if you want something uh with a beautiful writing, like not just bare bones prose, but with a little bit of like a little bit lyrical, a little beautiful, that flows a bit, but not too difficult, not too verbose, not too purple prose or something like that. So Neil Gaiman is the person for you. I would recommend reading the, what should I recommend, Coraline. Yeah, I think Coraline is the one that you will really like if you read it for the first time. And the magic is not, it's not like the typical magic you see. It's very everyday kind of a magic, like magic infused into everyday activities and all that. And Neverwhere is this book about a parallel London, and it's kind of like an urban fantasy, but also portal fantasy. So, portal fantasy means that you go into another world, kind of like Narnia. And urban fantasy is like it takes place in our world, not in a secondary world. So, it takes place in an alternate London, and the main character, okay, I read the book many many years ago, so at this point I'm having trouble, remembering what was there in the book. So yeah, uh it's a good book. You should give it a try. But I would highly recommend Coraline because it's top tier shit. So yeah. And last honorable mention is by V.E. Schwab, The Monsters of Verity series. I It didn't make that much of an impact on me, but if you are not used to reading fantasy, it will really, really, impact you. And the writing is simple. V.E. Schwab's writing, it's very, easy to understand, easy to get to. And yeah, like it's something that will appeal to you. If the synopsis appeals to you, then you should definitely give it a try. So these are all the books that someone who speaks English as a second language can uh, go into. And I would, my only suggestion is that don't be scared of trying something new, because there is always kind of a learning curve when it comes to doing something new. So when you're trying out something new, like reading fantasy, at first things might seem a bit difficult, but once you get used to it, like after a book or two, then you can read anything. Like you'll have so many books to read, and your TVR will grow, like exponentially. So don't be afraid, and keep a dictionary handy. Or if you are on any bookish, social media corner, so just ask people your questions, like if you have any doubts or anything like that. People will be very very eager to help you out, because we all want more people to read fantasy. So yeah, I see you guys in the next one. Bye.